Hi, I'm Quentin Schultz, author of the book, An Essential Guide to Public Speaking. An Essential Guide to Public Speaking. And today, I'd like to share some thoughts with you about Chapter 12 on conveying passion. The title is Convey Passionately. Convey your passion. Convey your enthusiasm. What do we dislike more than a boring, seemingly irrelevant speaker? Whether it's a teacher in school, or whether it's a preacher, whether it's a politician, people who don't seem enthused about their own topic. They don't seem to be excited about serving their audience. It's deadly stuff, but it happens all the time, all around us. Nobody complains because somebody is too enthusiastic about their topic. They complain because people lack passion. Where's your passion for the topic? You and I should not lack passion because we are in the business of servant speaking. And to serve an audience, we need to engage them. We need to interest them. We need to bring them in to what we are saying. We need passion that they can pick up on so that they become passionate too. Yes, we need to do this. Much easier to say than to do, believe me. So let me unravel this a little bit and give you some tips from Chapter 12 about conveying passion. Let me start from a very different angle. Here's what I hope is an aha moment for you. The passion of Christ. The passion of Christ. We use that term a lot. The passion of Christ. It's been used for centuries. What is the passion of Christ? The passion of Christ. The love of Christ. The absolute, heartfelt, all-encompassing love of Jesus Christ to sacrifice himself for us. That passion to walk down the road toward the cross and take it all. The passion of Christ. That's passion. That's passion. It's passion you could see and feel. Could you imagine being there? The verbal and the nonverbal. We have to think about passionate speaking in terms of the verbal and the nonverbal too. Passion. Convey passion. The first thing that I've discovered about conveying passion that's so important is identification. Now, this is a classical term in rhetoric, popularized again in the 20th century by rhetoricians like Kenneth Burke. Identification. A way that we connect with other people and get them to accept our information, to agree with us if we're persuading them, or feel delight is to identify with them, to identify with the audience. And that's what Jesus did with us. He identified with us on that road to the cross. Jesus was the great identifier. And so we identify with our audiences, with their needs, with their interests. We aim to approach them where they are at. That's crucially important. Identification. We use we as much as possible instead of you. We instead of you. We are in this together. We are servant speakers. The more I use the language of you, it seems like I'm just talking about you exclusively. And we are not in it together, and therefore you're less inclined to be passionate in the way that I am passionate. Identification is so much connected to the we language rather than the you language. So let me say it again. We are in this together to be servant speakers. Servant speaking is about us. It's not just about you. It's not just about me. And I can convey that passion better when I use the we language. We use relevant examples and illustrations. Relevant examples and illustrations. Passion comes forth. If we are not the absolute most excited and really non-verbally and verbally expressive people in the world, but if we use relevant examples and illustrations, people come along. They pick up on the level of passion that we have. Relevance is very, very important. I know that if I tell an example or an illustration that the audience can identify with, they're starting to come along, and they will get passionate in a way that I will as well. So I told a story about going into classroom and not being very well prepared. Every teacher can identify with that. And then I say, but it was one of the greatest classes. How could that be? And teachers identify with that. And they get excited. And they say, he too has experienced that. So I'm excited in the way that he's excited in the topic. The identification comes through with the relevant examples and illustration. And finally, probably the most important part of the chapter, but which I won't get into in this video, has to do with expressing ourselves passionately through verbal and nonverbal means. The verbal has to do with a range of volume and down and softer. And it has to do with speaking more quickly and speaking more slowly when it's best, when it's right and fitting. It has to do with having voices that capture what it is that we're trying to say. Not just the language, but our voices. And then the nonverbals. What do you think of my nonverbals? Do they connect with you? Are they helpful? Some of this is just stuff that I picked up growing up in Chicago. But I've tried to get it under control, self-control, so that it furthers my speaking. How we dress, how we look. One of the most important nonverbals, biblically speaking, is our face. The biblical term is countenance. Countenance. We don't see God's face because that is the most personal part of God visually. See? And so to see other people, to look out and see an audience and have the audience seeing us face to face is a very powerful thing. What's on our faces when we come out to speak? Very important. Please read that material in the chapter and think it through in terms of the importance of countenance, of nonverbal. Nonverbal connected with the verbal, so they both convey the same message, is very powerful. We should convey passion that we truly have through identification, especially using we versus you language, using relevant examples and illustrations, and combining our verbal and nonverbal to support what it is that we're saying, that we're trying to communicate as passionately as possible. You can do this as a servant speaker. You're called to do it. Thank you.